also in the bulletin. The Greater Accra region has surpassed the Ashanti region as the most populous region in the country after the Ghana Statistical Service revealed the provisional numbers for the 2021 population and housing census. It put the country's population at 30.8 million, with females still outnumbering males. Ashanti has more in the following report.
The population and housing census was originally scheduled for 2020 until COVID-19 struck, forcing a change of plans. The last census was in 2010 with an estimated population of 24.6 million. For 2021, Ghana's population is now 30.8 million, with 51.2% majority being females. The Greater Accra region has also surpassed the Ashanti region as the most populous region.
Greater Accra region has caught up with Ashanti region. Indeed, from the provisional figures, we are seeing Greater Accra region edging up as the most populous region marginally. Between 2010 and 2021 population and housing census, with our 24.7 million that we recorded in 2010 and the current population figure that we have now, the population change over the period is 24.9. Provisional results from the 2021 population and housing census indicates that Ghana's population has increased from 24.7 in 2010 to 30.8 from the 2021 population and housing census.
Field officers started gathering data for the population and housing census between 27 June and 8 August 2021. There were two different extensions to capture more details. The census revealed a 3.6 average household size in Ghana.
Following the 2021 population and housing census, we identified a total of 8.4 million households in Ghana. We recorded an average household size from the 2021 population and housing census standing at 3.6.
There are 10.7 million structures counted in the census, with the majority of kiosks and other such structures found in the Greater Accra.
Specifically, we saw Greater Accra having the highest number of structures, 2.1 million structures. 20% of structures in Ghana are either metal, wooden structure, or kiosks. From the data, we realized that 15% of the structures that we have in Greater Accra are metal containers. Moving forward, we also observed that more than half of the kiosks in the entire country are in Greater Accra.
Speaking at the event for the release of the provisional census figures, Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah commended the Ghana Statistical Service for carrying out the census despite COVID-19.
COVID-19, as you mentioned, put the brakes on many national exercises, many census exercises in other parts of the world. But you, despite this, were able to brave the odds and to carry this through. And once again, we congratulate you.
Chair of the Governing Board of the Statistical Service, Dr. Grace Bediako, believes the new figures will play a critical role in government's digitization agenda.
The census is one of many initiatives that will further the digitization agenda of the country.
According to the Ghana Statistical Service, out of the 10.7 million structures listed, 20% were metal containers, kiosks, and wooden structures. Maxwell Agbagba was in a community called Kofi Krom, where residents have been compelled by the high cost of rent to live in kiosks.
Welcome to Kofi Krom, located in the heart of the capital, Accra. Well, people who live here have been compelled to live in these wooden structures. Many of them tell me that they are unable to afford the high cost of rent in Accra. They say that they have to pay 70 Ghana cedis monthly to live in these shacks. I've been speaking to Alhassan Abubakar. He's a driver and says his wife and children live with his grandmother, but he has been forced to live in this kiosk because he cannot pay.
If you want to go and rent room, it's too much of money. If you want to go and take it somewhere, they say you have to pay 2 years, 3 years advance before they will give you the room. They will give the room to you. So we too don't have that money. That's why we too come hard ourselves for here. The way we knock some small kiosks, where we too dey inside, where we too dey sleep. Where we too take some give some people. Where that people to know, they know if they go rent that room to know, they not figure money where they will go rent that room. So our room to know, where we not come on to know. A week, you know, a month, you know, we dey take a month 70 Ghana. But we dey take 3 months. 3 months because of houseless. We do to everybody no get some. So 3 months, you know. If you calculate them, then you pay, so that we handle the room for you. So if you dey inside 3 months, if the time reach her, if you want to renew to her, so that you renew back to again. Because of the why we rent out at 70 Ghana, the plywood is cost. Oh, like if I get money, like somebody will go hold me, like me to get my work what they do, and we will stay here.
I've also been speaking to Moro Abdullah. He's an Okada rider. He has also been compelled by his financial situation to live in this kiosk here.
I'm from Kumasi, where I come Accra. But I did Accra the time where I did Alajo. I did my uncle in there. I was like 7 years back. Still, I don't have money to rent room. So that's for me to rent. I see myself, so now I grow. So I supposed to leave my uncle alone and come hustling place, and come hustle myself.
Well, joining us on Zoom for a conversation on this is Ebenezer Ama, who's a development consultant. Good morning to you, and many thanks for your time. So the census data that's provided by the Ghana Statistical Service, for someone like you, it must be of great interest because it throws up so much information. Which of them would you say is your highlight?
Well, this is, in my view, very wonderful for development. We've always made the argument, should development be driven by data, or should data be driven by development? We think that data should drive development. So, for example, the data on the urban kiosk and microstructures is extremely very important in my view. And that has consequences for water and sanitation. By 2012, Ghana as a whole had about 14.2% of the WC systems in the whole nation. The rest of toilets and things were actually driven by what we call free range in the pit latrine. And this had consequences for health and other things. So if you look at these structures, you wonder whether they even have structures for toilets and so on, and water as well. We are yet to see the actual report, the full report. But in my view, this would have consequences for our health, consequences for our education, and consequences for our personal income. And I think the national, the Ghana Statistical Service has done a good job to have done this job.
Now, how do you expect government to work with data like this? Let's stick with the number of containers and these structures that are all over the place. Let's stick with that as starters. How do you expect government to work with this information, or what should they do with this information?
So first and foremost, it means that when it comes to structures, government must work with the private sector to ensure that we have formal structures where, these structures will be, even if they are metals, it does not really matter too much, but to be zoned properly. They should not be informal, they must be formal, that they can be captured adequately, consistently in national statistics, because there will be consequences in terms of socio-economic, challenges, and consequences in terms of how we can resolve them. And it is my view that we need to focus on these structures and make sure that they are actually reduced or removed, or actually properly zoned, so that we can have people occupying them, and we can use them as appropriate as possible.
Now, closely linked to the issue of containers, container structures, is the issue of population density. And it appears Accra is increasingly adding on a lot more people than any other region. I was speaking with the government statistician. It was indicating that Accra has added on 442 people as compared with the Ashanti region that has added on maybe just about 25 people. This is critical for planning as well. Again, with this kind of information, how do you expect government, or as a development consultant, what would you advise?
It means that there's a lot of migration from other regions to Accra. That's number one. Number two, Accra is becoming very, very urbanized. It also means that we must focus on making sure we have adequate facilities in Accra. However, we must also make sure that the regions also have adequate facilities in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of employment, so on and so forth. So we can stem this kind of migration from the regions to Accra. Obviously, we can ask people not to travel. Ghana belongs to all of us, and we can live anywhere else in Ghana, in addition to Accra. But I think that we need to ensure that development is equally spread around and across the entire regions in Ghana, so that people might not migrate to Accra. But what you can see is that Accra has become extremely urbanized, and if they don't have space enough, they cramp together. The other thing I'll say about it is that if our population density is so high and we don't have adequate facilities, there will be challenges again in terms of health, in terms of education, so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, I think government have to work with the private sector to ensure that development is adequately spread across the entire length of this nation.
All right, thank you very much, development consultant Ebenezer Ama, for your insights.